The Mongol Empire 1206–1368 was founded by Genghis Khan r. 1206–1227. First great Khan or universal ruler of the Mongol peoples. Genghis forged the empire by uniting nomadic tribes of the Asian steppe and creating a devastatingly effective army with fast, light, and highly coordinated cavalry. Eventually, the empire dominated Asia from the Black Sea to the Korean Peninsula, expert horsemen and archers. The Mongols proved unstoppable in Central Asia and beyond, defeating armies in Iran, Russia, Eastern Europe, China, and many other places. The descendants of Genghis each ruled a part of the empire, the four Khanates, the most powerful of which was the Mongol Yuan dynasty in China 1271–1368, established by Kublai Khan 1260–1279. Eventually, the Mongols became part of the sedentary societies they had so easily overwhelmed, and many converted from traditional shamanism to Tibetan Buddhism or Islam. This was a general symptom of the Mongols not only losing part of their cultural identity, but also, too, their famed military prowess, as the four Khanates all succumbed to damaging dynastic disputes and the armies of their rivals. Although not famed for creating any lasting architectural wonders or political institutions, the Mongols did make the significant contribution to world culture of finally connecting the Eastern and Western worlds via expanded trade routes, diplomatic embassies, and the movement of missionaries and travelers from Eurasia to the Far East. Nomads of the steppe. The Mongols were pastoral nomads of the Asian steppe who herded sheep, goats, horses, camels, and yaks. These tribes moved according to the seasons and lived in temporary camps of circular felt tents or yurts. The climate of Mongolia is often harsh, and, reflecting this, clothing was warm, durable, and practical. Felt from sheep's wool and animal furs were the most common material to make clothing, which was remarkably similar for both men and women. Heelless boots, baggy trousers, a long jacketrobe deal worn with a leather belt, and a conical hat with ear flaps, while underclothes were made from cotton or silk. The Mongol diet was mostly dairy-based, with cheese, yogurt, butter, and dried milk curds, purit being staples, a mildly alcoholic drink. Kumis was made from mare's milk, which was often drunk to excess, the herds being too valuable as a sustainable source of milk, wool, and even dung for fuel. Meat was typically acquired through hunting, and wild fruits and vegetables were gathered through foraging to stock up for winter and provide meat for special feasts, such as at the irregular tribal gatherings. Special hunts were organized. At these events, a strategy known as the nurge was employed, where riders encompassed a huge area of steppe and slowly drove the game, anything from marmots to wolves, into an ever smaller area, where they could be more easily killed by mounted archers. The techniques, organization, and discipline of the nurge would serve the Mongols well when they went to war. Most of these features of medieval daily life in the Mongol world are still continued today by steppe nomads across Asia. Although nomadic life generally saw men do the hunting and women do the cooking, the division of labor was not always so clear, and often both sexes could perform the tasks of the other, including using a bow and riding. Women tended animals, set up and packed away camps, drove the tribe's wagons, looked after the children, prepared foodstuffs, and entertained guests. Women had rather more rights than in most other contemporary Asian cultures and could both own and inherit property. Several women even ruled as regents in the spells between the reigns of the great Khans. Another area of Mongol life where women were actively involved was religion. The Mongols' religion had no sacred texts or particular ceremonies, but was, rather, a mix of animism, ancestor worship, and shamanism, with instances of the elements of fire, earth, and water. Impressive geographical sites like mountains and natural phenomena, such as storms, were considered. to possess spirits. Shamans, who could be both men and women, were thought able to, in a state of trance, communicate with these spirits and travel in their world, helping to find lost souls and divine future events. Other religions were present amongst the Mongols, notably Nestorian Christianity and, from the 14th century, Tibetan Buddhism. Lamaism became popular, perhaps thanks to its shamanistic elements. Islam was also widely adopted in the Western Khanates. Above all, though, there was a widespread belief in the principal two deities, the earth or mother goddess, known as Etigan Itigan, who represented fertility, and Tengri Gok Mungki Tengeri, the blue sky or eternal heaven. This latter deity was seen as a protector god and, crucially, he was thought by the tribal elites to have given the Mongol people a divine right to rule the entire world. Genghis Khan and his successors would put this idea into devastating practice by conquering almost the entire continent of Asia and creating the largest empire ever seen up to that time in history. Foundation by Genghis Khan, the Mongol nomadic tribes were then used to a tough life, were highly mobile by nature and were trained from childhood to ride horses and shoot bows. These qualities would make them into excellent warriors able to endure long and complex campaigns, cover vast amounts of territory in a short space of time and survive on only the absolute minimum of supplies. Even the role of women and their chores of camp-making and transportation helped the Mongol army as they provided the vital logistic support for their husband warriors. Genghis Khan was perhaps the first Mongol leader to realize that if only the various tribes and clans could be united, the Mongols could master the world. Genghis, born Temujin c. 1162, overcame a harsh childhood of abandonment and poverty and established himself as an able military commander for Togril, chief of the Karat tribe. The life and times of Genghis are told in the Secret History of the Mongols, a 13th century chronicle, which is our best primary source for the early empire. Over a period of around 10 years from 1195 to 1205, Genghis became a leader in his own right and slowly expanded his domain through a ruthless mixture of diplomacy, warfare, and terror. For many warriors, it was often a case of join the young leader or be executed. Tribes such as the Tatars and named medieval Westerners wrongly applied to the Mongols themselves. Karaids, Naimans, and Merkids were brought into line finally in 1206 in a grand meeting of all tribal leaders at Kurultai. Genghis Khan aka Chinggis Khan was formally recognized as the Great Khan or universal ruler of the Mongols. The Khan attempted to further unify his realm by insisting that the hitherto only spoken Mongol language was made into a written one using the script of the Uyghur Turks and by introducing a lasting law code, the Yosa. Communication was greatly helped by the establishment of the Yam, a network of staging posts which messengers could use for resupply as they rode across the state. The empire had already begun in earnest, but it was about to get a whole lot bigger. Expansion, northern China and Persia. Mongol tribal leaders had traditionally achieved and then maintained their position of power by distributing war booty amongst their loyal followers. And Genghis was no different. The Mongol army was based around 10,000 men, which was the Khan's personal bodyguard, the Kasiktin. Members of this elite would also hold key administrative positions across the empire. Additional troops were gained through conscription of the Mongol tribes and contingents from allies and conquered territories. The main offensive weapon was the light cavalry with its riders expert at firing the powerful Mongol composite bow. Mongol horses were another asset, both for their sturdiness and stamina, but also their sheer numbers, allowing riders up to 16 spare mounts, which meant an army could travel huge distances with great speed.